Hello and welcome to today's editions of Hello Sports Tech Live. This is episode number 34, and yes, I am not Ron or Benjamin. I am Alex Sarita, and I'm filling in and keeping the seat warm on behalf of Ron and Benjamin for today's episode. Don't worry, they will be back. Hopefully, I might be back. Ron is currently at the launch of SportsTech Belgium, and Benjamin is at a innovation challenge judging some cool startups taking part in that competition. So don't worry, Benjamin shared last week's episode that he was in London watching the NFL. He's back from London. He made it safe and sound back into Berlin, and he's off working and doing his thing on SportsTech today. So I am Alex, and I'm going to be your host for the next 30 or so minutes. Really pleased to be here with you, and I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you. I've obviously taken inspiration from Benjamin's background and the Chicago Bulls frame shirts, and I thought I'll bring a little bit of my own memorabilia, not clearly as well set out as Benjamin. This is an improvised background, and share a little bit of passion for baseball, either from my country of birth in Venezuela, the Atlanta Braves, which currently have one of the best Venezuelan and MLB players in Ronald Acuna Jr., who's currently and unfortunately injured and not making the playoffs. And also, I know my team. There is a New York Yankees shirt in there, having made it past the first round of the playoffs again. So the multi-time World Series champions struggling to actually give it a run over the last few years. So I'm Alex Sarita. I work at SportsTech Hub. Give us a follow, give us a shout on Twitter at Jalex Sarita. For those of you that haven't been with me before or we haven't connected before, SportsTech Hub is an innovation program funded by a not-for-profit in London Sport, set up with the mission to accelerate the use of technology to help more people become physically active. So it's all about how we can get more people active in London, in the UK and beyond. And in particular, we are keen to support solutions that are tackling inactivity and encouraging less active people to become more active. So if that rings a bell with you, follow us on Twitter, check us out on LinkedIn at SportsTech Hub. We are friends of SportsTech X. And back in 2019, we published the first ever city deep dive on sports tech. We published, co-authored the London Sports Tech Report back then. So thanks for being here. If you've got any questions, any comments, utilize the chat, but also give us any comments on utilizing on social media channels, utilizing the hashtag Hello Sports Tech. We really want to, I suppose, do the show justice, and also, make an effort and make a point on Ron and Benjamin that this is maybe we've taken it up to the next level, and they need to follow suit. So we're going to be following the same pattern as usual. We're going to be discussing the top 5 stories that we've picked out, curated or collated just for you, and that we will take that in a moment. Having watched the show many times myself, I know usually there's a little bit of a double act there between Ron and Benjamin where they chat about, hey, what's going on their week? I would love to know what's going on across your week. What's the one key thing, one of the key highlights that kind of sticking with you? Maybe what's the one key thing that you're looking forward to? So unsurprisingly for me, watching the playoffs is keeping me occupied, and I'm really enjoying seeing some high-level baseball being played and some really tight matches going on. Really enjoying seeing the Venezuelan players from the Houston Astros, Atlanta Braves really making an effort and taking their teams into the next round. And I'm looking forward to the Premier League football starting again. And with that, fantasy football coming back in. I started well, but I'm slowly declining. So anyway, let us know what is your key highlight of the week and what you're looking forward to over the next week or so. Utilize the Hello SportsTech hashtag. Make sure you chuck us some questions in the chat. I will do my best to follow suit. Okay, so here we go. We are now going to dive deep into the top 5 stories that we have curated, collated for you. Starting at number 5, we want to just have a little bit of a chat around the Allianz Startup Challenge at FC Barcelona. So huge opportunity if you're currently a founder and entrepreneur working in a sports tech type product. Then this is something that you might want to consider. So this initiative is part of the Sports Tomorrow Congress. In particular, they are looking for solutions relating to smart fabrics, wearables, sensors, VR, and analytics. And as you see there as well, a little bit further down the page, you name it. It's a catch-all type statement. So if your product is not in and around those call to actions, then use the you name it as your catch-all, as your opportunity to chuck your product into the mix. Submissions have to be put through by the 25th of October. And pretty cool, I suppose. The winner will receive 5,000 euros from Allianz for their project. And also, as you will see there, just below the date, there are further rules that you have to check in and go through. So that's just the key information around the challenge. What I like about it, what we like about the challenge is, well, generally competition can be a bit of a hit and miss. On this occasion, I suppose the entity behind and the brand behind warrants at least a consideration, right? Pretty good exposure within Allianz and the Barca Innovation Hub and partners, judges that will be in and around that challenge. There's also a little bit of cash, I suppose, on the table, but I think the biggest thing potentially is if you are shortlisted or the products that are shortlisted, then is the ability for the panel members to understand, maybe get awareness, first-time awareness around your product, and maybe plant some seeds that might lead to further things in the future. Outside of this, generally, Barca Innovation Hub are looking for startups at the intersection of sports, entertainment, and athlete development. So something in there for you or for founders, for products to consider. And very much the Barca Innovation Hub wants to co-create products, co-develop services that can help their athletes, the stadium, but also what I really like is about our play around society in general. So pretty good thing. Unsurprisingly, I'm probably slightly biased. You might say that I would think that with the sort of work that we do in trying to get more people active by utilizing technology being a key part of what we do and what I do. All right, so that is your story number 5. Now we are going into story number 4. And this is really like this one. This is a pretty fun concept, a pretty futuristic concept, which is around self-driving fitness that have been co-created or are being developed by Citroen, the car manufacturer, in partnership with Pullman Hotels and Resorts. So you'll see the picture there in there. Pretty futuristic. This is a pretty fun, cool concept to think about it. So key takeaways from this. It is, as I said, a collaboration between Citroen and Pullman Hotels and Resorts. The aim is to create swappable pods for inner city travel, which sits on top, as you see there, the pods sit on top of a Citroen Skate. And the Citroen Skate is basically what enables the pods to mobilize self-driverless or driverless pod that can travel around inner cities. So the key thing in here, and you will see kind of in particularly from the picture on the site, is that there is a Pullman Power Fitness Pod, and the Pullman Power Fitness Pod will be a miniature gym that will sit on top of the skate, and is designed to enable people to exercise on the move. So on one end of the pod there will be a rower machine, and on the other side will be a docked bike. So a kind of a little bit of some big currently at home fitness products that you can kind of maybe think of that will be equivalent type products that will sit on the end of on either side of the pod. So the pods will allow users to work out while traveling through the city. So whether it is going from a hotel into a location for a meeting or for an event, or maybe to go and see and visit other sites. And also the pod, which is super cool, designed for the pods to be interchanged or to be fitted on the platform within or in as little as 10 seconds. Obviously, this is slightly futuristic. This is some proof of concepts in there, or proof of potential ideas that might come to fruition in the near future. So that's some of the key takeaways in terms of what we liked from the story, or the key points from the story. My take on it, really cool to see a cross-sector collaboration. So you've got a car manufacturer coming together with a hospitality type agency. Also love that they have thought about integrating physical activity as part of the pod design. So there are other pods, 3 pods actually, that in total are being designed. One of them is the one that is specifically around enabling people to work out on the move. So super cool that they thought about that. It's very much what I liked is that while users exercise, the Citroen skate, so the base or what sits underneath the pods, will be actually charging. The batteries will be charging. So the more that users work out, the more the charger is are charging. Suppose probably a thought in there around whether then therefore you should have your journey slightly cheaper, because in essence you're enabling to put some electricity back into the batteries. I also loved, having read about it, that there are possible uses of this technology or pods being created for things like medical practice, transporting food. So they even security. So they thought about already some other possibilities after the 3 initial pods have been designed, tested. And I suppose nevertheless, it's great to see, I suppose, that it's physical activity integrated. However, probably this is going to play into high-end type consumers. So consumers that are probably going to be staying at one of those hotels already, maybe in a city for business. Their physical activity habits, therefore, because they're in a new city, have been disrupted. So pretty good that they're able to continue to exercise. However, I think this is going to be appealing to those high-end type consumers. So that's the self-driveless or self-driving fitness pod by Citroen in collaboration with Pullman Hotels. So we are now off to story number 3. I thought this was going to half an hour. Wow, there's a lot to go through, but hey, it's going pretty sharp into the timing. So this is EA, Electronic Arts. For those of you that are not aware, with the acronym there, are launching a patent, or have submitted a patent to match gamers. So this is a pretty short and simple type piece. As you see there, that is it. That is all the content that we've got to go by. This is a scoop by, as you see there, the patent drop. Consider patent drop to be kind of your SportsTech X type equivalent, but around patents, unsurprisingly. And the article just explains that EA are aiming to help people find online friends to play games with. So the hypothesis is that if you might play a certain title, you might be more enticed to play certain titles, and actually your immediate friends, families might not actually share that passion with you. So the purpose of this pattern is to enable that user to find online friends that share that mutual interest around the title. But also it goes into a little bit more detail around how they're going to go about finding who to match you with. So as you see there, it's going around the time of the day that the user might be playing, the type of genre or the type of genre or titles that the user will be playing, your skill level. So it's about trying to kind of deeper dive into the habits, behaviors of the gamer, trying to utilize that to recommend or match you with other friends. But it's pretty cool in there around potential ability to bring like-minded individuals into virtual worlds too. So that's something that EA sees happening as a byproduct of this pattern, or in the future once the piece of tech is actually being developed. Look, key takes and consideration, I suppose. Patterns are a great way of getting a sneak peek into what's coming future-wise. I suppose we live in a world that is so personalized that it makes sense that you're kind of are connected with people that you share deeper passions, deeper interests with. I suppose the other thing is around, not, as I mentioned earlier, not friends and families are not directly going to share those potential interests with you. So instead of you kind of joining up online and being at the risk of hopefully finding someone that you can play together with, then diving into behaviors and attitudes might provide a richer connection for individuals in the future. And look, EA are EA. So huge global machine, behind obviously FIFA, video games, and many others across in sport and outside. I suppose there is still an initial thought around the risk that this might bring up, and don't get me wrong, those risks already exist, but the risk being around the vulnerability of young people, potential exploitation, grooming, and not just young people, but vulnerable adults as well. But you hope that obviously those are things that are already being considered as part of the development that is taking place. Can't really know until the doing has been done. But that is story number 3. We are flying through here. So we are now going to dive into story number 2. And this one is very take us very much away from anything that we have been talking about so far. So up to now, we've been talking about futuristic fitness pods. We've been talking about gaming, matching behaviors and attitudes, and obviously initially talked about an actual program as such. So in here, we're starting to dive into the grey boundary of healthcare, as well as sports tech. So this is all about eye tracking for rehabilitation by SyncThink, but also then how this potential technology can be applied, or is starting to be applied or consider within the sports sector, and primarily around athlete development, athlete recovery, post-concussion recovery as well. So key things that we kind of brought up, key takeaways from the article. So SyncThink have built and currently maintain they claim one of the largest eye tracking data stores or groups with more than 50,000 patients, and therefore results for this study in particular. SyncThink said that they've received wide adoption from healthcare organizations, professional and teams. And actually within the article, it goes on to include the Golden State Warriors and college athletics program. So again, really kind of thinking about how this technology has an application within the sports sector primarily, or starting at least within that elite performance and maybe budding athlete performance or professional athletes space within that college type system. As I kind of just mentioned, there is a statement around the expansion beyond virtual reality and rehabilitation, which is what SyncThink have been primarily doing, and potentially going into augmented reality training. So bringing that end user into different experiences, different environments to help them, again, in this instance, with their rehabilitation, whether that's from a medical, very clinical kind of medical point of view, or looking at a sports performance space point of view. And the article also states that the companies and leagues have already taken a range of actions to address the health and concerns that come from athlete collisions. So collisions, there's obviously lots of research and discussions for many years in the NFL and American football, most recently, at least here in the UK, around the impact of heading balls and what that might have in the longer term play from a impact from a health point of view for those footballers. So a lot of conversations, at least around here, on limiting that to as much as you can within training, and especially within younger age group or young people. So my take, and I got three key things on that. There's obviously a bit of competition or complexity within the article in terms of, talking about healthcare, rehabilitation, sports performance, sports training. I read it a couple of times, and I suppose that, there is trying to make the best of what they've developed, the best of what they're going on, what they've got going on, and trying to apply it or test it within different sectors. Obviously, goes on to state already some key teams that have claim and interest in testing, utilizing, or deploying this technology within their setting. SyncThink has diversified itself again by using their eye tracking technology, mixed realities analytics, and they want to discover irregularities in brain performance based on the person's vision and reaction time. So interested in what might come up with that as we keep going forward with this. And the last piece is around there is this continue pattern and kind of almost gray area of where are we going into healthcare, medical care, athlete well-being, and kind of how that all merges and comes into sports tech as a proposition. Look, nevertheless, I suppose if there is something there that is going to support people not only getting back healthier and fitter quicker or better, but also prevent from a preventative health point of view is going to help, that can only be a good thing, right? So good luck, and it's one that I'm sure the guys at Hello Sports Tech will continue to follow and will continue to bring you more as more things emerges. So we are somewhat, I suppose, sadly, almost at the end of the show. So our final piece is going to be, and this is something that the guys might have spoken to you guys before, definitely have covered before, but it is the NHL, the National Hockey League, relaunching pucks with sensors. So this is a second time round, or a second time coming piece. The first time, actually, the first trial lasted for 6 days. Having read the article and kind of having done a little bit more digging. So at that moment in time, first time round, the league went away because the feedback received from players and teams is that the original pucks then with the sensors just didn't feel right. They felt that they were impeding, interfering the flow of the game. They didn't feel that they weren't smooth enough, and they were taken away from the performance of the players, I suppose. So and the game. So this is second time coming for the project. It seems that they've actually now really happy with the end product this time round. In, I suppose, true startup world, albeit within a big global machine that it is the NHL. I suppose they fail quite quickly, they learn, and off they come again, and they are now ready. So the new pucks have got 6 circles on both sides, covering tubes that allow infrared cameras to constantly connect the vulcanized rubber with a puck and player tracking system. And data will support, unsurprisingly, you probably saw this coming, will support a number of things, one of them being broadcasting and therefore fan engagement. It's not, the article goes on to say that there is a lot around the sensitivity of the data and how the data is going to be used. So it hasn't been obviously exclusively done for that point of view or for that reason, but it is something that goes on to state within the article. So look, my takeaway from it is, will data be used in the right context? Ultimately, the guys last week covered a piece around KPMG launching an app for the WTA, if I remember right. And Benjamin posted a relevant question around, what data goes in and what data is going to come out, and, actually the sensitivities around that, in particular because there was an app around athlete well-being, and in particular supporting things like COVID processes and guidance, and the testing and the measuring of it. So back to this story. How would the data be used, and ultimately will it be used in the right context? What's the impact going to have on sports betting? How is it going to be used from a broadcasting point of view? And actually some of the direct coaches, players within the league have made a statement or an acknowledgement that the data that would be leveraged from the new parks could be used against themselves, so against a team. So other teams might use this data to do better preparation in advance of future games. But actually, there's an acknowledgement that it could just be as useful from an own team performance point of view, and looking at ways, particularly around scouting and player identification in the future. So the other thing is around, I suppose, the analogy or the crossover to how we've seen data impact baseball, and I talked a little bit about baseball, not within sensors within a baseball as such, but AWS getting involved with Major League Baseball, for a few seasons. Things like StatCast coming out, things like the distance that the balls are traveling, the speed of exit, so a hitting point, how hard their balls have been hit, and launch angles as well. So all of that has really influenced recently the way the players are preparing their swings, modifying their swing path to increase the chance of hitting more home runs. So who knows, if you're a keen NHL fan, then please get in touch, give us your views, utilize the hashtag #HelloSportsTech, and see how you see this shaping out. But that is it. Half an hour is been and gone. Can't believe it went that quick. I hope you have enjoyed. That was our 5 top stories for today. So quick last bit of shout out as usual. Please give the guys a follow on Instagram and TikTok at @HelloSportsTech, where you're continuously going to get your fixes, or daily and weekly fixes, around all things to do with sports tech, latest news, breaking news, new products coming into the market. But also, if you're interested on having a look at what type of products are covered, then give the guys and their shop a look. So hellosportstech.com/shop. Apart from that, it's been a pleasure being with you. I've really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it too. I've been Alex Sarita from SportsTech Hub. Give us a shout on Twitter at Jalex Sarita. And that pretty much led us to it. There's a comment. Hey, I'm just checking the chat here. There's a comment for Ron from Belgium. while taking a break from speaking on the platform that he's at, on the stage that he's at, saying that the hot seat is hot today. Well, not sure about that. I've tried to do my best, and do you, Ron and Benjamin, so injustice. So that is it. That is the end of the show. Hey, I promise that I will do my best. Stay classy, sports tech, and see you soon.